Hi everyone, this is Tamara, your courtroom companion, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you a bunch of resources that I found in my area when I was representing myself in court. And hopefully you have similar resources in your area. So I'm going to tell you about a bunch of resources that might be available to you if you decide to represent yourself in court. And if you've seen my other videos, you know that during my 7-year custody battle, there was a period of about 18 months that I represented myself. And so I was known as a pro se litigant. And that's just a fancy word to say, you're representing yourself in court. And when I first started that journey, I had to learn about all of these resources, and I found them sometimes by accident, sometimes by someone else sharing about those resources. And so I wanted to share them with you today, and hopefully you can find similar resources in your county as well. And before we jump into those resources, I wanted to remind you to please hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you'll be notified when I upload my videos. So let's get right into it. During the 18 months that I represented myself, I learned not only about the resources, but I also learned about how strong I am. And it was a result of learning about those resources that helped me to feel that strength, because I use these resources on a daily basis sometimes, and then I also would use them on a weekly and monthly basis depending on what was going on in my case. I would not take back 1 minute of my time representing myself, even though I had an attorney for, before that 18 months and after that 18 months. That 18 months, I wouldn't take back a minute of it because it actually provided me a ton of strength. It allowed me to be more confident when I was in court. And I just encourage you to kind of check out what resources you have in your area as well. As I mentioned previously, if you are representing yourself in court, you're known as a pro se litigant. And as a pro se litigant, there are many free resources available to you. For example, in my courthouse, there was a free law library in the basement of the courthouse. That's when I started out, but eventually this turned into a free law clinic where there were many attorneys on staff that could assist me. So I would collect a few questions that I had, and I would make time to go to this clinic. And when I first started out, the clinic was only open on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings for like 2 or 3 hours. And so I had to take leave in order to go to the court. But I found that to be, better than taking on more debt for an attorney. So I would collect my questions throughout the week, and then I would, maybe once a month or twice a month, take leave and go to the law clinic, and I would sit down with the one attorney that was available on staff, and I would kind of discuss my questions with her. Eventually, the clinic turned into kind of a fully operating Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of deal. So there were many attorneys on staff, but it didn't start out that way, but it did eventually turn into that. So I could go anytime. So I could, leave work and, be there before it would close. And so I did that frequently to kind of get my questions answered. And one thing to keep in mind if you use the law clinic or the law library, whatever you have in your courthouse, is that each county has a set of rules that you need to abide by in terms of court. So you'll want to research whatever you're doing to represent yourself. If you're, in a bankruptcy kind of situation, you'll want to research the bankruptcy laws. If you're doing custody, you'll want to research the custody laws because they're different in each state. So you want to learn those rules by going to the law library or the law clinic, whichever one you have. One way that you could find out if you have a law clinic in your courthouse is to call the clerk's office in your county court. There's probably a main number you can find on the internet. Call them and just ask them if they have a law clinic and if it's free, and also what the hours are. If it's one of those situations where there's only one attorney on staff, you probably won't get a ton of time with them. I know when I first started out with when the law clinic just had the one attorney, I would spend a lot of time waiting for my turn, and I would only get like 10 or 15 minutes with her. So I would be very strategic with those 15 minutes. I would have my questions already typed out, and I would have, a place to take notes so that I would make the most of my time with her. If your law clinic is fully staffed, you might get more time with each attorney, or you might have to come back several times or make an hour appointment. I'm not sure how your clinic will work, but you'll want to utilize that free clinic if it's available to you. The next resource is that if if you have a local community college in your area, they likely have a free law clinic from time to time as well. So the community college in my area held a free law clinic twice a month. So I would utilize that as well because it was in the evenings. And so I didn't have to take off work to go, to see the attorneys there. And I didn't have to wait as long. So depending on what I had going on, I might have to visit both the free law clinic in my courthouse and the free law clinic at the community college if I had a hearing coming up. But if I didn't have a hearing come up, I would usually not take off work to go to the one at the courthouse. I would go to the one at the law clinic because it was in the evenings and worked better with my schedule. So you'll want to call the community college in your area, or if it's not too far of driving distance, maybe in the next town, see if they have a free law clinic as well. The other resource that I found was that there are a lot of Facebook groups that have that are related to people representing themselves. So you can search online for Facebook groups that some of them are private if that's important to you so that others don't see your comments on your feed. You can find private Facebook groups that might be helpful to you as well. And I found them helpful because I could post questions out there and then other people would answer and give me ideas for things. So Facebook groups can be a really strong resource for you. As a pro se litigant, I also found in my county that there was a free online legal chat through my state, actually. And when you could post questions in the chat, and they would first determine by your case number whether or not you were represented in court. Because if you were represented in court, it will say that on your online case file that you are represented by an attorney. And if you were, this chat was not available to you because they didn't want to give you advice that would contradict what your attorney would say. So these folks were just available. I think they were available 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So I could post a question there and they would check to make sure I wasn't represented. And then they would give me resources or tell me information that would be helpful for answering my question. Sometimes they would say, oh, well, I need to know more about your case before I answer that question. And I would give them whatever information they needed and they would guide me. So that was really helpful too, because I could just pop online and I wouldn't have to wait for the law clinic to be open, for example. So that was really helpful to me. And maybe they have that in your area as well. I also found through one of my Facebook groups that there are people called document preparers. Now they do charge money, but they don't charge as much as if they represented you in court. So if you wanted to write a modification of custody order, you would give them all the information that you knew. They would look up the laws in your state, and then they would prepare that document for you. Now they might charge $300 or $400 to prepare that document, but that's a lot cheaper than if you had an attorney doing it. I know that I used a document preparer, quite often during my 18 months until I learned to write the documents myself. Once I saw how they did it, then I would just mimic the documents that they prepared, and I started preparing my own. My mom and I both prepared documents. She would write some, I would write some, we'd write them together, and then we would file them. And having a document preparer, if you're not confident in doing that kind of writing, can be very, very helpful. And you can find them anywhere. You can just go on the internet and just type in legal document preparer. And you can even put legal document preparer in your state, and you might find someone that's even more familiar with the laws in your state. So that could be helpful to you as well. So as a reminder, the document preparer that you get, if you do choose to go that route, they don't necessarily have to live in your state. Document preparers are generally used to looking up laws in various states. So don't worry about it if they don't live in your state. They don't have to. So in my case, the legal document preparer that I had actually was a retired attorney. So she was just doing this for extra money. And so I think she charged maybe a couple of $100s for a document. So that was a lot more affordable than having an attorney that would charge $350 or $400 for an hour. So hopefully you can find one of those resources if you think that that would be helpful to you. Also, legal document preparers can also offer coaching services. So if you were using a document preparer to prepare your documents, you could ask them if they have a coaching service. My particular document preparer did offer coaching services. When I was going into a hearing, for example, I would pay for 30 minutes of her time, and we would go over my strategy. I would tell her the questions that I was going to use for cross-examination, and then she would coach me on questions that likely I would receive as from the other side in terms of cross-examination. And so it was really helpful to have that coaching service as well. So you can also check those out as well. The other resource that I want to offer to you as something that was helpful to me is there are a ton of books out in the library or in Barnes and Noble and places like that that are there for you to represent yourself. So for example, I used this book called Represent Yourself in Court, How to Prepare and Try a Winning Case. So this is the book that I used. My mom purchased this for me, and it has all kinds of information, and I called this my legal Bible during my 18 months. So you want to check out what kind of books are available in the library if you can't afford to buy a book, or you can look at Barnes & Noble. They're not that expensive. I think this book was around $50. Hopefully you will find one of those books helpful to you as well. I know I carried it everywhere I went, and I was always consulting it when I needed to do something for court. The last resource that I wanted to talk about was just your support network, like your family and friends. My family and friends were invaluable to me as I was going through my 7-year court battle, but particularly during my 18 months. My family would read documents for me. They would help me write documents. They were a support network for me that I could not have gone through this without them. And so what I would encourage you to do is just to, if you have family and friends, I would encourage you to just open up about what you're going through and ask for what you need. Oftentimes we have a hard time asking for what we need, but I could not have done it without my family and friends. So I would encourage you to reach out to your your tribe, as I call them, to ask for help. You can't do this alone, and we're here to help you. Courtroom Companions is here to help you. We have a whole community of people that are willing to kind of be there for you. So post comments, post questions, we'll jump in and help as well. We can be part of your tribe. Going through a court battle is not a time to be prideful in any way. So please do reach out. We're here to help. We're here to assist. We're here to provide that emotional support. Courtroom Companions is right here by your side. So if you haven't checked out my other videos, please do so. There's a ton of videos out there to help you if you're representing yourself in court, or if you have an attorney, there's other videos out there for you as well to help you understand the legal process. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, and thank you so much for stopping by. I hope this video was helpful to you. And if you know of other resources that you have found, if you're a pro se litigant, please do write them in the comments below. We'd love to hear about them. We're a community here supporting each other. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.